Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to share my views on Pakistan-Russia ties in the multipolar world and opportunities and challenges. Before we start with the formal presentation and opening up the slides, I would go for some basic details. Ambassador Saab, he has set the ground for the discussion and deliberation. We know that during the Cold War, right after the creation of Pakistan, Soviet Union, then it was led by Russia at that time. It had a different camp, and Pakistan joined the Western camp because of the geostrategic and geopolitical interest at that particular time. Because of the Indian factor, where we see that India it emerged as an existential threat to Pakistan. Pakistan had to strengthen its security in terms of military hardware and economic stability as well. So we know that before the creation of Pakistan, the Indian National Congress it had close relations with the Communist Party of Soviet Union, and there were certain statements by the leadership of the Communist Party of Soviet Union regarding the All India Muslim League, where they declared All India Muslim League as a British tool, where British Raj at that time was using as a tool of divide and rule in the Indian subcontinent. Therefore, when the Pakistan was created, Pakistan got independence, and the government at that time, having a close affiliation with the All India Muslim League, they had those statements into their minds. So that was one of the major reasons that Pakistan joined or opted for the Western camp. But obviously, being student of international politics, we need to understand that the realist school of thought or the national interest, they always supersede everything while we take the decision. So at that time, obviously, the Western world, America, and the hardware than the Russian camp or the Soviet camp. Therefore, it was in the end of the second thing was the Bretton Woods system that emerged right after the Second World War. For that purposes, Pakistan had to opt for the Western camp, and secondly and thirdly, the Soviet Union it had close relationship with the Indian government at that time. So these were the three major reasons, beside other small factors, which forced Pakistan to look towards the Western camp than towards the Soviet camp. Now we see that primarily the Cold War era, it was marked with the divergence of interest or the cold relationship between Moscow and Islamabad. But once the Soviet Union disintegrated and the international political structure, it changed from bipolarity towards a transition towards a multipolarity. Then we see that both the countries, Russia and Pakistan, they got opportunities to interact with each other. And we see that high level of delegations they started to visit each other countries, and both sides they showed interest and warmth of having multilateral relationship with each other. But obviously, keeping in view the geopolitical environment of the region and some domestic and regional constraints on both the states, Russia and Pakistan, both the states they could not go to the direction where they wanted to. Nevertheless, some geopolitical changes at global level and regional level again forced both the countries to look towards each other, particularly 9/11, and then a transition or a shift at the global level where we see that America is aligning itself with India, particularly in order to contain China in not only at the regional level but at the international or global level as well. So we see that the Chinese rise as a transitional power, its interests have aligned with the resurgence of Russia as a great power. So we see that in this situation where Pakistan and China they are closer to each other, their strategic partner as well. Here, Russia and Pakistan, they got closer to each other as well. So we see that there are multiple factors at the global level, at the regional level, and the local level, domestic level, which are forcing both the states to come closer and um, to enhance the bilateral relation to the next level, I would say. And I endorse and I support the argument that has been given by the ambassador that if you look at the trajectory of the relation since 2013-14, we see that we are onto the right path of um, uh, development and relation. So we know that these relations have, as I have discussed a bit, they are evolving in the context of a multipolar world where both the countries, they are getting certain opportunities but are facing challenges as well. Since we know that the world is in transition, the world politics is in transition, and we still have to look at where this transition is leading towards, whether to bipolarity or to multipolarity. But obviously, the indicators are um, telling us that, or we can assume through the indicators that the world is heading towards a multipolarity where the center of power, it would not be confined to only one or the two power, but different powers. This manifestation has been um, seen through the BRICS, particularly the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and other multilateral organizations which have emerged over the period of time. And we know that this transition is led by China, and Russia and other powers, they are supporting this transition. And there are multiple voices at the global level where the multipolarity is being demanded. And like I've already said that, different events across the world, particularly the recent events in the Middle East and even the Ukraine war, they have sent messages that there's no more unipolarity in the world, and America has lost, at least practically, it has lost, not theoretically but practically, it has lost the status of the superpower, the sole superpower, I would say. So we see that under such circumstances, there's an alignment and realignment of partners at both regional and global level, where we see that the old friends, they are joining the opponent camps, and the old enemies, or where there had been um, divergence of interest, now those states, they're getting closer to each other. So we see that this cooperation um, uh, that is at regional or global level, it's at the multiple levels, like it's in the areas of diplomacy, economy, military, trade, and so on. So this situation has given a room and opportunities for Pakistan and Russia to enhance their relations as well. These are certain um, realities which had been into practice before the during the Cold War, or before the independence or disintegration of the Soviet Union. I've discussed this, how Pakistan, it had engaged itself into the Western camp. And lastly, the Afghan war, actually, it was the turning point where we see that when the Soviet invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan joined. In fact, USA, the Western world, Arab world, and Pakistan joined their hand against the Soviet invasion into the Afghanistan, and ultimately Soviet Union disintegrated. But despite that opposition to each other, we see that after the disintegration of Soviet Union and Russia, emergence of Russia as an independent state, they the situation, it got improved. Initially, right after the independence, we see that bilateral visits, they took place. Even the foreign minister of both the countries, they also visited each other. But we see that a major regional and domestic, constraints, which forced us, forced Moscow and Islamabad um, to continue their relations um, gradually, slowly and gradually. One important thing was the Pakistan's um recognition of Taliban regime in Afghanistan. in 1996, which was opposed by Russia at that time. And there were certain other important developments in the region where we see that Russia and Pakistan, they had a kind of divergence of policy. Anyhow, the America and the U.S. Nuclear deal was one of the major reasons where we see that Pakistan and Russia, they got closer to each other. When India actually joined the American camp, and before that, the 9/11 happened, and in Pakistan and Russia, they got convergence of interest over the anti-terrorism and anti-extremist operations and policies, where there was a convergence of interest. So we see that the U.S. Indo-nuclear deal, actually, it was one of the major breakthrough where we see that both Pakistan and Russia, and they got closer to each other. Then we see that the military cooperation, it started, although it had been in practice even during the Cold War, where we see that during 1968, when Kosygin, he visited Islamabad, there had been a small arms deal at that time as well. But major breakthrough again, it started in 2014 onwards, where we see that the Russian authorities, they agreed to provide, they lifted the arm embargo on Pakistan that was put during the Cold War times. And henceforth, we see that they started giving us hardware, particularly the gunship helicopters, and the joint military exercises, they also started over. And the important development is that the Druzhba, the first 2016 Druzhba exercise, they were conducted in the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. And we know that as per the Indian claims, the Gilgit-Baltistan region is a disputed region. So if the Russian military, it goes to a disputed region as per the Indian claim, it means Russia is accepting that part of Gilgit-Baltistan as part of Pakistan. So it means it was a kind of major breakthrough so far Pakistan's diplomacy toward Moscow is concerned. Pakistan's stream gas pipeline is one of the major projects. We know Russia is rich in the energy, and it really wants to export its energy to alternative markets, particularly in the wake of Ukraine crisis, where we see that its energy transportation to the European market, it is at a halt. Therefore, the Pakistan stream gas pipeline is not only essential for Pakistan, but it is very, very important for the Russian policymakers as well. But again, we know there are certain domestic pressures, but at the same time, there are certain international pressures. That is why we see that this pipeline project is still in the doldrums. Karachi Steel Mills, the largest steel mills of Pakistan, it was established with the help of Soviet Union at that time, and Russia time and again it has given us green signal that it is going to help rebuild and restart the steel mills of Pakistan at Karachi. So I think this is another important avenue where we can, Russia and Pakistan, they can go and they can dig out opportunities and they can enhance their relations as well. Uh, Another important area, obviously, which I've already explained, anti-terrorism. This is one of the areas which actually brought Pakistan and Russia closer to each other. So, as we know that Pakistan and Russia both are the members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that is a multilateral organization. And under the SCO, there is one regional anti-terrorism structure that is based in Tashkent. And the important objective of that RATS is to share the intelligence so far the terrorist and extremist and counter-terrorism and counter-extremism policies by the states are concerned. So I think this is another area where we can explore. And obviously there are certain joint level, groups and mechanisms where both the states, they are collaborating and cooperating with each other. But obviously we need to do something very, very pragmatic and practical in this particular context. Another important area is stability in Afghanistan. Again, we know that most of the scholars, they declare and they rightly actually assess that instability in Afghanistan is the major drawback or major missing link between the connectivity of South and Central Asia. So Russia also wants alternative routes to access the international markets, particularly through the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean region, where we know that the Black Sea is a turbulent region, and the conflict with Ukraine is over there, and this conflict may lead, and obviously Dr. Togra Jami is going to explain in details what would be the future of this conflict. But obviously, what I understand is it would have long-term impacts on the whole region, particularly on Russian Federation. So the second best option for Russia in this regard is access to the Indian Ocean region. And again, the north-south corridor is one of their brainchild, but they are also focusing onto the alternatives, and they are well connected with the Central Asian railway and road networks. So once Afghanistan's stability is in it is achieved, and Pakistan and Afghanistan position to construct the proposed Trans-Afghan railway project. Obviously, that is going to open up different avenues and more options for both Pakistan and Russia to collaborate, not only in economic, but people to people and social context as well. So we see that one thing that is connectivity. Second is the extremist and terrorist elements which are hiding in Afghanistan. Obviously, Pakistan is facing severe kind of terrorist activities in the shape of TTP, and Pakistan would definitely like to have permanent stability in Afghanistan. And good thing is Moscow is also very much interested. They have nominated their representative for Afghanistan as well. So we see that I have read some news that maybe Moscow is going to recognize Taliban maybe in near future. So let's see what happens. But stability in Afghanistan is one of the best opportunities for both the countries to collaborate and cooperate. The Russian government, it has also offered its technical assistance in the Gudu and Muzaffargarh power plants. Obviously, this is one of the areas, civil nuclear support, or area where we can have collaboration on a larger level. So Pakistan has struck deal with Russia for the import of crude oil undiscounted price, but I think it should be a permanent feature. But again, we know that the American and the Western pressure is there in Pakistan, and Pakistan has to seek assistance from IMF and other international financial institutions. Therefore, it's not an easy task for Pakistan. But I think Pakistan should do something. If they are not going to get the maximum, but whatever they could, they should do it, and they should try to get it out of that. I have already explained about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So far, Eurasian Economic Union is concerned. That is one of the organizations that is established. That was established on the pattern of European Union. Although it is not a successful model like the European Union, but even then we see that at least they have established a free market within the member states. So if Pakistan can access to any of the Eurasian Union countries, it can access to the other countries. So Moscow or Russia, being the most dominant member of the Eurasian Economic Union, can be detrimental in this aspect as well. Then we know that since we don't have a lot of things on the bilateral level to achieve, obviously there are pressures, national, regional, and global. So we can involve China, or we can involve any other country which is ready to join Pakistan and Russia in the multilateral agreement, whether it's for the economic purposes, trade purposes, investment, energy, or social sector as well, whatever. So I think China can be one of the good options, because China has very good relations with both Pakistan and Russia, so it can get both the countries further closer to each other. I have discussed about Trans-Afghan Railway Project and North-South Corridor, and BRI, obviously, three major, I would say, corridors of BRI. They pass through Russia, Central Asia, and Pakistan. So again, once these corridors they are materialized, there are chances that we are getting closer to each other. Now, this cooperation should be expanded to other fields like agriculture. We know Pakistan's economy is primarily based on agriculture, and Russia has vast experience in agriculture and agrotechnology as well. Besides agriculture, technology and infrastructure are other areas where both the countries they can cooperate with each other. However, there are certain challenges. The most important is the Indian factor, I would say, because if Russia has to choose between Pakistan and India, obviously its interest primarily matches with India than Pakistan, and I think it won't um, you know make relations with Pakistan at the expense of its relations with India. Although India is into the Western camp now, but again, India is a very important country so far the Indian Ocean region is concerned, and keeping in view the historical chronology and trajectory into mind, we see that Russia is Indian factor is one of the major factors so far Russian policy towards Pakistan is concerned, and we know that Russia has supported the India's national nuclear supply group membership as well. So this depicts that despite Pakistan's objections and Pakistan's protest, Russia is into the favor of India. Then Pakistan Stream Gas Pipeline Project, we know that the company that was Arctic Global, which was nominated by the Russian side, it was banned by the US back in 2016. However, we see that the project, it has been given to the other companies now, but still, we have to face the American pressure, the Western pressure in this context as well. Now, considering the current state of the US-Russia relations, we know that Washington will not let any country get closer to Russia. And particularly if we talk in terms of Pakistan, obviously, it is not in any favor that Pakistan join the anti-American camp. Therefore, under the current geopolitical situation and considering the US historical rivalry with Russia, Pakistan will be under a lot of pressure from the West. Now, there are a few other challenges like lack of trust at both the sides. Again, it's rooted into the historical relationship, where we see that both the states they had been against each other. Therefore, it would take some time to build the trust back. Next is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Dr. Tugral is going to explain in detail. People-to-people connectivity is almost nil, and the bilateral trade volume, although it is around $1 billion, but still it is very, very low. And unless it is not increased, our relation with Russia or Russia relation with Pakistan, they would be fragile. So let me conclude. The global transition of power is a complex phenomena. Although the world is heading towards multipolarity, the pace is very slow. US still enjoys the undisputed superpower status, at least theoretically. US tilt towards India to keep China and the Indian Ocean region under its control has also paved the way for improved Pakistan and Russia relations. Pakistan has good relations with China, and its relations are improving with Russia. However, it cannot overlook its relations with the US and the West, with which it has largest trade relations. Pakistan often seeks economic assistance from the IMF as well. Therefore, Pakistan has to have good relations with the West and the US. Therefore, it is the need of the time that Pakistan should keep its options open and pursue a multi-vector foreign policy which help it achieve a balanced relationship with regional as well as the great powers. And Pakistan should focus on stabilizing its economic and political conditions. Russia is one of the options in that context. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.